Council will begin the meeting Wednesday, March 9th. Welcome everyone, and certainly our listening audience as well. Today's meeting is being held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency. It may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement. This gathering we acknowledge that the land upon which we meet is the traditional territory of First Nations people. We convey our respect and thank them for their contribution to our culture, community, and our past and future partnerships. Council, is there any member declaring a pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none on my screen, we will consider that closed. Addition to the agenda, are there any? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion that the regular agenda of council dated March 9th, 2022 be accepted as presented. A mover, please. Councillor Bartlett. Seconder. Councillor McGill. Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Delegation and presentations. We're very pleased to have a presentation by Four Counties Health Services Foundation on the hospital presentation presented by Tom Jeffrey, Four Counties Hospital Foundation Chair, and Steph Villette, the VP, and strategic partners, Martha Wertner, as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you take the floor, and the chair will gladly give you the run of this section of the meeting. Yeah, is there someone that will be speaking on behalf of Four Counties? We'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good afternoon or good evening, Mayor Mayhew and members of council. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to present to you the council and of Southwest Middlesex. I am the chair, Tom Jeffrey, and with me this evening also presenting will be Steph Villette, MHA VP of Strategic Partnerships, and our administrative assistant, Martha Wertner, is also with us this evening, as well as an observer from the foundation, Jackie Beatty. Our agenda this evening is two parts. First, I will be making a presentation on behalf of the foundation, and then I will turn it over to Steph Villette to make a presentation on the Four Counties Health Services, and then we will have a brief time at the end of this presentation for questions and answers. One of the important things for any foundation or any organization is to have a mission statement and vision and value statement. And we are kind of proud of our mission statement. It's to build relationships that support Four Counties Health Services by raising awareness of critical equipment needs and encourage our community to give through ownership through giving. Why we are here this evening. We are here for a number of reasons. The affairs of the foundation, to just give you a little bit of an overview for members of council who may not be fully aware of our thing, how we consist is we have 9 elected governors and 4 ex officio governors appointed by one by the MHA, one by Four County Health Services, one by Four Counties Health Services Auxiliary, and then the Strathroy Middlesex General Hospital Foundation. Some of you council members may not be aware, but the Ministry of Health does not fund the purchase of hospital medical equipment, and which is defined by Four Counties Health Services policy as equipment valued over $3,000. So that is why we reach out to our community to raise awareness and the need. Four County Health Services medical equipment is purchased through the generous support of our many, many donors and our very strong support in this community. The foundation has contributed over $8.5 million to support medical equipment purchases for Four Counties Health Services. And the Municipality of Southwest Middlesex has contributed over $200,000 over the last 20 years. Just recently, last year, we went into the process of developing a strategic plan. The strategic plan is a threefold thing, but we thought we would tonight just give you a brief overview of where we're going. We had to develop some objectives, and one of those was to develop a policy framework and then how to implement and review those relevant policies within the foundation. One of the other next steps was to develop a fundraising role and then to recruit for a fundraiser. Fundraising is very important to us, and so because it supports the hospital's ongoing equipment needs, and we always need to be aware and refresh fundraising models and events to reach out to the public. Finally, we needed to update our communication strategy. As you know, we are in a very fast-paced world where communication is very important to keep people up to date as to where things are going. And then one of the main things that we need to look at is how we are going to tell our story, go out into the community and tell the community who we are and what we are doing to support healthcare in our communities. So how do donations impact our hospital? Well, they provide state-of-the-art medical equipment for patient care. They allow the hospital to increase the number of procedures that they can do. They reduce wait times. And most important of all, they keep care close to home. One of the important rules. And how does a hospital impact our community? According to a recent local study, the top 2 reasons that attract newcomers to an area are 1, employment opportunities, and number 2 was access to healthcare. That's an important thing to note for members of council because healthcare is very important to people moving into an area. And hospitals not only impact quality of healthcare in our communities, but they also impact the viability and sustainability of our rural communities. As you can see from this slide that we're presenting right now, it shows that each year we're giving a list, we approve a list of equipment to make our appeal for each year. This past year, in the year 21-22, our appeal is for $336,000. Of which include the digital imaging, a new ultrasound, the negative pressure room, which has just been completed, and then the pediatric kaleidoscope, a closet switch is something that's not really appealing to the public, but it is part of the process that we have to keep up to date with that. And then there are vital sign monitors, a bariatric patient stretcher, and some pulleys for in the area for the orthopedic or the physiotherapy patients. And then there are the IV pumps, which are used on the nursing in the active care nursing station and in the emergency department. Just to note to you, this coming year, the anticipated allotment is $253,000 for 22-23. As you can see by these pictures that we're showing here, one of the important things that of which your council supported largely in the past and is just has 2 more years to complete is the X-ray Grand Suite, this suite opening that took place in the new digital imaging that was put into the hospital down there. And finally, 2 years ago, we completed the endoscopy campaign for the new endoscopies equipment that needed to be replaced and is, being used to very, very efficiently and most productively in our community to help detect cancers and other problems in people.
Thank you, Tom. And this is my section of the presentation. I certainly want to send my appreciation on behalf of the hospital of all the great work that the Four Counties Foundation has done in supporting our organization. So Tom and your team, thank you so much. I thought we'd start off quickly in terms of a hospital update by just running a quick 90-second video that articulates a bit of what the hospital is all about. This was done in collaboration with the Middlesex County. So let's roll tape.
Four Counties Health Services has a 24-hour-a-day emergency department, inpatient care, diagnostic services, and rehabilitation care. So we can provide initial care for badly injured patients, for very sick medical patients. Having the heliport immediately adjacent to the emergency department is very helpful in getting patients quickly to higher levels of care. Over the last few years, Four Counties has been developing itself as a health village. where other services are offered here in addition to traditional healthcare. We have partnerships with a private lab, a wellness center, Southwestern Ontario Aboriginal Health Access Center, and a dental clinic. We do physiotherapy and rehabilitation, adult day center for elderly patients. The fact that Four Counties is located where it is a huge benefit to the residents of rural Middlesex County. It means that care can be provided to them closer to home without them having to travel. Living in Middlesex County is a delight. Pace of life is a little bit slower, and I think people enjoy themselves a little bit more because they're living in a rural environment. This hospital has a very friendly atmosphere. People greet you with a friendly smile, will try to help you in any way that they possibly can. It feels very much like a family.
Great. I'm glad that video worked. And it's a great snippet, and it's very genuine in terms of the family feeling that our hospital offers to our patients. Just quickly though, in terms of, and I'm mindful of time in terms of tonight's presentation, quickly speaking to our structure. Our hospital is Four Counties Health Services, but it's part of the Middlesex Hospital Alliance. For those of you who aren't aware, it is a two-site organization, which includes our sister hospital at Strathroy Middlesex General Hospital. Very important to point out that we have two separate foundations, which each funds their own respective hospitals, and in turn has auxiliary departments that are staffed by volunteers and of course supports the activities of the foundation. It's always important for us when we present to share a little bit as to what's happening in the hospital. And Claire, you may be curious as to what's been, how we've been challenged in terms of COVID. Like many other hospitals, this has been a very intense 2 years, and we continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. But over the course of the last 2 years, I'd characterize our clinical and patient impact by having a shutdown of some of our clinical services. Yes, we continue to have an emergency department. Yes, we continue to have an inpatient area for hospitalized patients, but some of our services did have to take a hiatus for several months, but we've been recovering on those activities over the last several weeks. We also had an opportunity as a result of funding from the hospital, the foundation, and CMA to construct a more robust negative pressure room in our emergency department, which has ventilation that is much more modern and can accommodate scenarios like COVID patients coming into the emergency department. In terms of visitor impact, if you've been to the hospital, of course, you've all been subject to screening at our entrances. Our entrances have been limited. We've asked our volunteers and auxiliary staff to remain home for the duration of the pandemic. So that's been a challenge for them. And many of them were former employees of the hospital, and now they can't come back and connect with us, which has been a challenge. And we've also, of course, instituted changes to our visitor policy, which continues to be tweaked as we again slowly recover and go from a pandemic phase to hopefully an endemic phase. From a staff perspective, there's certainly been some impacts as well. You know, with all the uncertainty and anxiety that's been out there in the last 2 years, we've certainly noticed an increase in workplace violence from patients to staff, which is alarming and concerning. We've also had to make some very challenging, difficult decisions around doing a mandated staff vaccination policy, which has created a few minor HR disruptions of sorts. And last but not least, I think the pandemic, and this goes beyond just the healthcare sector. There's been some health human resource challenges, people taking earlier retirements, people thinking I need to change career paths, I need to consider other options. That's all had a big impact on staff. And of course, like in many other hospitals in our sector, we are struggling and doing our best to keep up and provide the best possible service. I won't speak to all of these details in the interest of time, but these are usually snapshots we present to participants in terms of our hospital activity. What you see here is number of emergency visits last year, our occupancy rate, number of patients that we had in our hospital, and in very large part, the numbers that you see in brackets underneath each large number shows what we had the previous year. So it shows the impact of COVID, really. In some numbers, we had a drop of 30% of emerge visits. People avoided the emergency department. Our occupancy rate was actually a bit lower, but and such. So again, it was a very challenging year to try to anticipate what numbers and volumes we were going to have as a hospital. But what has been interesting is despite being in a COVID year, fiscal year 2021, shows the breakdown of population as to who participates or who comes to the hospital, either for an inpatient stay or an emergency visit. And here you'll see on the left, the pie chart shows that roughly half of our visitors for inpatient stays come from Middlesex County. On the right-hand side, and I think this is due to being having a good reputation in our emergency department, we actually have 34% of Middlesex County residents coming. That's in part balanced or rebalanced through an influx of people coming from Chatham-Kent County. The eastern part of Chatham-Kent may prefer to come to Newberry Hospital because perhaps shorter wait times, better service than going to other hospitals in the area, which that accounts for the differences in the pie charts here. We have 4 family physicians from the community that are committed and vested to provide inpatient support and do rounds each morning, so to speak, on our inpatient population. So I'm assuming you know some of them very well, and they're really great to have their support in our community. Our inpatient unit is also supported by 2 nurse practitioners who are Max and Sari, who have been great. They've been on board for several years now, and they've been monitoring the inpatient area once the physicians have completed their morning rounds, and they interact with the physicians during the day if issues arise. What you can see from this interesting chart is the occupancy rate of our inpatient unit. And you can see the jagged tooth diagram that happened just after COVID. It almost seems to be correlated based on the waves of COVID that we've had, seems to have had an impact to our occupancy rate. But by and large, we've traditionally run very close to 100% occupancy prior to COVID. We're very proud of our health village, and this was alluded to by Dr. John Dreyer, our Deputy Chief of Staff, in the recent video. We are proud to have partnered with Community Lab with Dynacare, a wellness clinic with Dr. Jody Anderson, who's a chiropractor and a wellness focus. He's looking to establish several new programs in that wellness space. And our Red House, which is adjacent to our hospital, has now housed a Newberry Dental Clinic, which moved just down the street into our space, from down the street into our space, to have extra space for growth, which we're really glad to have them on our campus. And last but not least, SOHAC, which is the Southwestern Ontario Aboriginal Health Access Center. They provide mental health counseling, nurse practitioner, and family physician support to First Nations community. They came on board in June, and really glad to have them on our site. So from our village, our health village, to yours, we really want to thank you for your time. And I believe we had perhaps some time, Mr. Mayor, for any questions the councillors might have.
That's fine. Yep, we'll get our, if we get our screen back from you, Steph, we'll have it. I can see everyone. And I want to thank Tom and Steph very much for that presentation. It's very interesting, and 4 counties is near and dear to us. We do have time for questions. We can take a moment. Council, please direct your questions through the chair to one of our speakers, and I'll wait to see your hands. Yes, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I don't really have a question. I just have a comment, if I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for joining us tonight to provide council with this update. It's always helpful and beneficial to just hear what the hospital is doing. I realize that all hospital staff, from frontline caregivers to administration, were stretched thin by the pandemic. And I wanted to just take this second to express my thanks to all of you for meeting the continuing challenges. And I know that the mental, physical, and emotional well-being of all of your staff is at the top of your minds always. So would you please share with your teams at both sites our gratitude for meeting the high needs of ongoing patient care support for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Council, any further questions? Yes, Councillor Vink, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen.
Yep.
I was wondering about the dental clinic. Is that a standalone operation, or is there some association with the hospital?
Yes, I'll let Tom or Steph answer that.
Yes, and thank you. Through you, Mayor. Councillor Vink, they are a standalone operation. We do have a rental lease agreement with them. But yes, it's a very collegial relationship. We're happy to have them on campus, and we're always open-minded to any potential ideas or partnerships that may stem from that association.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Steph. Yes, Councillor Cal, please go ahead.
Through the chair to the delegation. Today on our correspondence, we have information from Bracebridge Municipality, and what they've done is they have sent out correspondence requesting for support associated with the local share hospital capital calculation methodology that's come from the province. And so with that in mind, I know that our council has made an effort to support you, and we'd like to continue to support you. But is this a way that we can support you? Asking the province to not shift so much of the expense onto the municipalities, but to continue to support at the provincial level.
Yes, Steph, Tom, you may want to do that. Municipalities have given $415 million to hospitals over the course of 2009 to 2020. And this letter is in reference to the hospital capital calculation methodology. And the letter from Bracebridge is asking the government to re-examine it. That I guess it's not strange to anyone that our volunteer community seems to be shrinking a bit. And I know that capital equipment is largely focused on the volunteer community. And do you support a change that the province steps up to assist you in the future with more capital funding, as opposed to the municipalities and those of in philanthropy? Any comment on that, Steph or Tom?
I'll speak first, and then if Steph wants to. In terms of support, our municipalities in this location in the 4 counties area have been generally supportive to any capital equipment purchases that we've had to make. Southwest, Southwest Middlesex, the village of Newberry, West Elgin, and Elgin County, and have been very supportive over the past, and have been part of our fundraising as well as our community. And yes, we would be welcome. We would welcome the province to support us in ways of reaching funding. It might take a little bit of pressure off some of the local municipalities in terms of when you're doing budgets, and then all of a sudden we come in and ask for $100,000 for a capital equipment purchase. Some of that might be ease for us, but in terms, I don't really know how much more everybody can keep putting out. But as I said, our foundation has been very blessed with the support of our community and our local municipalities, keeping us vibrant and going. And I think that's an important factor. And they've been very cooperative and supportive in that respect.
Yeah,
Steph, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, not much more to add, Tom, but again, just to put some context, the demands for capital equipment is insatiable. The foundation, we're blessed to have our support from the 4 counties foundation for our equipment, but there's always ever, our sister hospital, as an example, for every $1 million we get from the foundation, there could be a waiting list of equipment that we just can't fund, because again, it's so challenging to recruit and solicit those funds from various donors and such. So the needs are insatiable. So any support, just to support Tom's comment, any financial support or change in funding methodology is certainly a welcome addition, because it could ideally, all things being equal, could help us fund even additional equipment at both hospital sites.
Thank you, Steph. Go ahead, Councillor Cal, follow up.
Yes, thank you so much. And that's just it. As a follow-up, there's no perspective of reducing funding that is already coming from the municipality. It's just saying, with technology advancing at such a rapid rate, if the province doesn't step in, then they're going to fall behind. And at that point, we can't make up the difference for the province. We can barely make up the difference for technology. So that's great to hear, because that's coming up later on our agenda. So I know it's a little bit of support, but it's what we can do on this side of things. Thank you.
Yeah, Council, any further questions? Well, we certainly, Tom, want to thank you, Steph, Mark.
Sorry, David.
Yeah.
Alan, I think Doug Bartlett had his hand up.
Sorry, Doug, I missed you. Yep. Go ahead. Doug, did you have your hand up?
No, I'm sorry, I was just scratching.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Tom, Steph, Martha, Jackie, I think I hate to use the words, but sometimes we get sticker shock at some of the prices of the stuff that you want to buy. We see very modest purchases that are modest in a descriptive way, but as soon as you put a medical qualification on the component, it does produce a bit of sticker shock for the public at times. But we know that you're mandated to provide good equipment and the most recent technological equipment, and it certainly has to have a medical stamp of approval on it as well from your organization. But I want to thank both you gentlemen, and Martha, thank you very much for being with us. And I think Jackie's in the background somewhere. There she is there. And we will continue to be fans of Four Counties Hospital and support you now and in the future. And we're very pleased that you're part of that we're part of your catchment area. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Jill, I've got to get my screen back here. What's going on? Let's see if I can get this. Yeah, there.
Are you
I'm trying
good?
to get my full screen back here. It's not happening. It'll just give me a minute here. There I go. Okay, I got you now. Yeah, just bear with me, folks. I've lost my screen here for a minute. We'll continue on with item number 5, Council, on the agenda. The consent section is coming up. There are 9 items that I'll go through, and should Council wish to have any of these consent agenda items acted upon, please request that they be moved to new business under number 12 of our agenda. 5A, February 9th meeting minutes. Yes, Martin Vink.
Yes,
Go ahead,
Mayor
Martin.
Allen, just a quick question. Just a quick question, Mayor Allen, to Jill.
Yes, go ahead,
I was
Martin.
wondering if any, okay, thank you. Jill, did anything come about that motion for the Brook Fire Services? Have you heard back from Brook Elviston?
Through
Jill,
you,
go ahead.
Alan.
Yep.
I spoke with the administrator, Ms. Dankers, today, but she's going to be sending something through tomorrow, is what she let me know. So we should be expecting something by the end of this week.
Thank you, Martin. We'll keep an eye on that. 5B, Southwest Middlesex vouchers totaling $425,000. 5C, Middlesex London Board of Health meeting update of February 17th. 2022 Farmland Forum flyer, diversification in agriculture. Roma letter, Minister of Finance regarding OMPF funding and our request to the past delegation. And 5F, a subject we were just speaking about, resolution of the town of Bracebridge regarding the capital funding of hospitals. Yes, Councillor Cowell, do you wish that pulled?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Make a note of that. And we have resolution, Norfolk County regarding the Year of the Garden. And 5H is a letter from Enbridge Gas. And 5J is regard to use of corporate resources, a polished review, and no changes have been recommended. That completes the consent agenda. May I have a mover and a seconder to adopt it with the exception of 5F, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Choi. Discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Jill, I'll go through a few of these. Committee of Adjustment, there are none. Public meetings, there are none. Staff reports, Jill, 8A, fire, I don't believe there's any tonight. And 8B is administration. 8B1 is the 2022 CIP applications. Sheila, I'll give you the floor if you'd like to walk council through this.
Okay, thank you. I won't spend too much time on it. This is our second intake of applications under our new CIP program. Our intake for this year was February 1st to the 21st, and we've received 5 applications for this go round. Only 4 projects are included in this report due to there's a lot of delay in getting quotes from contractors right now. They're very, very busy, and it's hard for individuals to get them to come, especially for smaller projects. So we're finding there's a little bit of a lag time, but everybody's got their applications in. We will have one yet to come after tonight. One of the most important things about the applications is this year that 2 of the projects are going to fill 2 empty storefronts, which is a big win. And all of our loans this year are under building, property, and accessibility improvement, facade, and signage at this point. So the investment from the businesses, the money that they're putting into their projects is just over $100,000 on our main street, and they're all on Glencoe's Main Street. The total approval amount is $12,330.61 for this year. The other project that's not shown on this part 1 of the CIP intake and approvals is under $2,000. So you're still within your budget on that. And since we've started the program, I've made the observation that people could potentially do signage projects throughout the year without them running over into the new year. And I think that the committee has kind of talked about it, and we would like to see a pilot project go ahead for 2022 where people can apply for signage improvement grants up until close to the end of the year, as long as we have funds. It would be on a first come, first served basis until money runs out. And they would have to be able to be completed within the calendar year. And I think that's everything for my report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. Council, you have the report before you. Please raise your hand if you'd like to direct any questions to Sheila through the chair. Yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Through the chair to Sheila, this is more of a comment than a question. I had a chance to speak with one of the applicants who was not on this list. And so you've just confirmed to me that there will be a little bit of extra time available. And that was my only concern, was that, as you had mentioned, getting these quotes back was a bit of a struggle during this hot market of buildings. So I am appreciative to hear that we are creating a little bit of space and time so that everyone who would like to participate will have the ability to. So thank you very much.
Great. Council, last call for questions. Just we want other business communities to take advantage of this too, councils. I'm sure that there's areas in Ward 1 and Ward 3 that you would like to participate in this. Following the ceremony at Battle Hill on Sunday, I stopped in a Ward 3 business and I bought a couple of ice cream bars and took advantage of the situation to explain the CIP program to the proprietor. And we certainly will drop back in and mention the signage aspect too. Should this motion pass, Sheila, that is an important element of any business, and quite an affordable element should your recommendation pass. And that's well thought out. and my compliments to the committee as well. And no more questions? The recommendation is before you, council. It's twofold, that the applications be accepted and that there be a balance available for signage on that. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the recommendation. Councillor Scholdice, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Bartlett. Discussion? In favor, please raise your hand. Motion is carried. And Sheila, thank you very much for doing that. That's has become a very successful program.
Thank you.
Jill, 8B number 2 is regarding section 270 bylaw. Did you want to speak to this?
Really need to take a lot of time, just a recommendation to council adopt a bylaw to capture all the policies that have already been approved.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we are governed under the Municipal Act, Council, and we must do it as it dictates. Any questions, Council, you'd like to address to Jill through the chair? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that the recommendation be accepted. Councillor Scholdice.
I had a question.
Oh, question. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. I got my hand up
problem.
late.
Yeah.
I was just thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I was just looking for some confirmation that we have in fact approved all of these. I was just reading under the analysis that it says new policies required under Bill 68. So I guess I'm just looking for confirmation that council has already seen all of these and we're just approving stuff that's already been through council.
Good question, and we do so much of it, Mike. We can lose track of it, or it's out of our train of thought. Jill, could you address Mike's question there? Have council everything that's being adopted has been put forth before council?
So I would just refer Councillor Scholdice to the table that's in the report that identifies the date, resolution number, and the confirmatory bylaw with respect to the policies.
Okay. Mike, it's there.
Thank you. So that includes the council employee relationships and the other two that are listed as new.
Jill, go ahead.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. And Deputy Mayor Wilkins, I see your hand. Please ask your question.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconder, Council. I'm looking for hands. Councillor Scholdice, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion's carried. Council, we're on to 8C, building report. Jill, and you correct me if the chair is wrong here. There's none. Finance, there's none. And in operations, we're going to start off with Andrew. He's got 5 recommendations related to drainage. You've been a busy guy, Andrew. Greg, how are you tonight? Good to see you.
Good.
Greg is a backup. So Andrew, you take the lead here.
All right, thank you, sir. This is a new municipal drain, section 4 petition under the Drainage Act. This is a follow-up from a couple of months ago with regards to the owner of range 2N lot 18 and range 1N lot 18, Augustine Walsh. And he has petitioned the municipality to replace the drain under section 4 of the Drainage Act that is in the corner of his property on the north side of Trillium Drive, and it goes under Trillium in the corner of his neighboring property and cuts back through his another property and outlets into a natural water course. And it is at this point, just to keep things short, that I recommend that council appoints Street and Associates under section 4(1)(a) for range 2N lot 18 and range 1N lot 18, former Mosa Township, under the Drainage Act to incorporate an existing drain as a municipal drain for legal outlet.
Thank you, Andrew. Council, just to keep it clean, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder on this recommendation, and then we'll enter into discussions and questions. A mover, please. Councillor Cowell, seconded by Councillor Vink. And we'll open up the floor to questions through the chair. Yes, Martin, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Al. To Andrew, since this goes over a road, will there be a cost to Southwest Middlesex? I realize Mr. Walsh owns land on both sides, but will the ratepayers be paying for part of this as well?
Through the mayor,
Yes.
yes, there will be a cost that is assessed to the road. That is specified under Section 26 of the Drainage Act with regards to increased cost as a result of road authority. And it is more than likely that there will be a catch basin that will be replaced. In fact, there are 2 catch basins there already on both sides of the road. And so there is a clear benefit to the road as a result of this drain.
Thank you, Martin, for the question. Thank you, Andrew. Council, any further questions regarding this Section 4 petition? It's been moved and seconded. The chair will call the vote. All in favor that the Section 4 be granted. Motion is carried. Andrew, if you could introduce the Mills Drain Branch B to us under Section 78.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The background, the Mills Drain was last improved under an engineer's report by Spreet & Associates as recently as 2013. This portion of the drain in question dates to 1969. Since, and similar to my last report brought in front of you, this is a follow-up. I did contact other property owners and including the requester, and more recently, the requester, since I've submitted this, had clarified that it was the main branch. If you refer to the map, that it is more the main branch than the branch that runs along Springfield. That is of concern. However, going forward, this branch will be investigated further to ensure that it is providing adequate outlet for the road and other property owners. It is my recommendation that council appoint Spreet & Associates under Section 78 of the Drainage Act to produce a report for concession 4, lot 5A to reconstruct the Mills Drain, and in particular to investigate the branch B.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Council, again, the chair will ask for a mover and a seconder, and then we'll discuss this. Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, seconded by Councillor Bartlett. And questions in regard to the Mills Drain. Council. Seeing none, the chair will call the motion. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. 8E3, Andrew, is the Moore Goff Drain, Section 78 again. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. This, and I see that it has been updated, that the map was incorrect originally. But the Moorgaw Drain was first constructed under an engineer's report by James McGregor, dated 1942. From what I can gather, there are no subsequent engineer reports that were carried out on this drain. And I did see a stack of maintenance projects carried out, sinkholes, and basically the drain has served its time. And similar to other projects that this council has seen since I've been here, that drains that are of this age, and in particular 80 years old, it's served its reasonable lifespan. And in fact, in this case, it's more than served its lifespan. It's where I recommend that council accepts the request filed under Section 78 of the Drainage Act for Concession 5, Lot 16, to reconstruct the Morgaw drain, and that myself contact St. Clair Region Conservation Authority and other authorities to ensure legal compliance and to send out notices or to have a scoping meeting, and that for myself, the superintendent, to report back to council once these things have been compiled.
Thank you, Andrew. Council, following the mover and a seconder to the recommendation, we'll discuss it. The Morgaw drain. Is there a mover for Andrew's recommendation? Councillor Mark McGill and seconded by Councillor Krista Cowell. We'll open the floor for discussion through the chair. Council. Then we'll ask for a vote on the recommendation on the Morgaw drain. All in favor of the drainage recommendation? Carried. The Mccann Nemeth drain, section 78. Andrew, could you walk us into this?
Yes, sir. The background for this drain was that it was originally constructed in 1987, and the drain consists entirely of a 10-inch tile that starts at the west side of Haggerty Road. It runs to an existing open natural water course, which eventually finds its way to the Thames River. There are no subsequent reports carried out on this drain. Some maintenance was performed, but the main issue that is in front of us that we are dealing with, that there's erosion that is going on in the natural water course and around the outlet of the existing drain. And so as a result, since last council meeting that this was brought to, notices have been sent out to the property owners identified in the last engineer's report. And attempts were made to contact other landowners. At this point, it does appear as though works are around the outlet and downstream. Now, similar to other times like this, there's some, we do have time left for a subsequent request to improve other areas of the drain if we should happen to receive them. At this point, I recommend that council appoint Spreet and Associates under section 78 of the Drainage Act to produce a report to reconstruct range 1 N part lot 17 improvements and extension downstream, principally improvement and extension downstream.
Thank you, Andrew. Council, a mover and a seconder for the Mccann Nemeth drain, section 78. Councillor Vink has moved it. Seconder. Councillor Scholdice. Questions to Andrew through the chair, council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the drainage recommendation is carried. And Andrew, the last one is the stocking drain, branch line 2, section 78. And could you introduce this to council?
Yes, sir. This the stocking drain branch line number 2 was first constructed in 1979. Subsequent report to another area of the drain was done in 1994. And with regards to maintenance, there was some clean out done on the stocking drain in early 2021. Since last council report that I brought this to, correspondence was sent out to other property owners on the 26th of this year, of January. And in order to gather if there were any other concerns, and also to this, I had conversations with the property owners that would be affected with regards to this drain. Similar to other projects, this drain has served its purpose, and it is in a position where the property owner is within reason And for this reason that I recommend council appoint Spreet and Associates under section 78 of the Drainage Act to produce a report to reconstruct the stocking drain branch line number 2 based on the request received by the owner of a concession 2, lot 19 and 20, former township of Mosa.
Thank you, Andrew. Regarding the stocking drain, council branch 2, a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Looking for a hand to go up. Councillor Scholdice, Councillor Vink. Yes, questions, council, on this drainage matter, this section 78 to Andrew? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor of the recommendation? Thank you, council. And Andrew, thank you very much walking us through those 5 drainage matters. There's lots of tile going in and lots of drainage work.
Yes, sir. More to come next time.
I bet, eh? 8E6, tar and chip tender results. Greg, could you introduce this subject to council?
Yes, I can. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, and through you, Mayor Allen, to council, I do have this report. This particular area that we're looking at resurfacing is the area of Old Road between Thames and Melbourne roads. Council certainly is aware that I believe it's 2019, the section between Dundonald and Thames was done as part of a resurfacing of Old Road in that particular area. So this is a continuation of that particular project. This was included in the 2022 capital budget. Project includes Old Road from Thames Road to Melbourne Road, pulverizing the existing surface to rebuild and improve the existing base, and 2 surface treatments of tar and chip after that's all done. The project should look identical to the one that was done originally. We put this on the market and received 3 bids. And my recommendation moving forward tonight is that council approves the pricing is provided by MSO Construction Limited in the amount of $890,214, which includes HST for the pulverizing resurfacing of Old Road from Thames to Melbourne roads, and that the contract be executed for this particular project. Certainly can take questions if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Greg, very much. I'm glad to see that came under, there's a budget surplus on it. Council, any questions to Greg regarding this recommendation? Yes, Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen and Greg. Have we worked with MSO before?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Allen, to Councillor Vink. Not since I've been here. It probably had occurred in the past, I would think, but MSO is one of the leaders for tire and chip application in the province.
Okay. All right. Any further questions, council? Yes, Councillor McGill.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Through the mayor, it says improve existing base. I suppose the contract will specify how much extra gravel is being added. How much are we bringing the road surface up by?
Yes, Greg, I'll let you answer that.
Through you, Mayor Allen. Yes, that's the case. So the construction methods and how we get to the surface treatment will be exactly the same as what we did on the original application of Old Road.
Okay. Okay, and Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just to follow up on Councillor Vink's question, if we raise, or sorry, Councillor McGill's, if we raise the road base, will shouldering work be included in this price, or will the municipality be doing that work after the fact?
Go ahead, Greg.
Through you, Mayor Allen, the road will be raised as part of this project. So, and everything that's going to be done to this road is included in the number that's provided.
Okay, so it's MSO's responsibility to do the shoulder work. Yeah. Any further questions, council? Yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, and a seconder for that, please. Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Last call for questions. Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. We look forward to that. Thank you, Greg. Greg, another item on your list are the gravel tender results for 2021, 22. Go ahead if you'd like to give that report.
Yeah, thank you. And through you to council. This is a normal process we go through every year to commission a company to provide us with our maintenance gravel for our gravel roads. Just a little bit about graveling our gravel roads. This particular program has been going on for a long time, certainly since I've been here. You know, we've kind of the service level has kind of been drawn back simply because of the price a little bit. But typically, you know, we're applying maintenance gravel so that these particular roads can bind properly. And, you know, through February, through March, you know, our challenge times, this is the reason that our roads, our gravel roads hold together so well. So this particular program has been where we have applied every 2 years, a complete coverage of the municipality with RM gravel. So we try to get 50% per year. So we put this particular request tender on the market itself to a number of companies to supply us with gravel. The results are there. Johnson Brothers is lower than Mackenzie in all of the particular areas that we requested the information for the tender. I have given you a little bit of information just so you can see that the service level from 2005, which was 37,500 tons, which was applied to the road, has now in 2022 is about 31,500. So we do work with those numbers and we do make the coverage. And as part of this particular tender, my recommendation is the council approves the tender prices applied by Johnson Brothers Limited for the supply and delivery of municipal's gravel requirements for 2022, sorry.
Yep, I see that.
And it's being granular M at 2089 per ton, 3/4 clear at 2585 per ton, and granular A at 2089 per ton. We do get a separate order for 3/4 inch clear stone, and we typically just have them priced out as part of this tender. So that recommendation is there, and I'm certainly available to answer questions.
Good. Council, please ask through the chair. Yes, Councillor McGill.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Down under financial implications, is that a typo there where it says on the left, it says 2022 costs? Should that be 2021 costs? And on the right, 2022 tender? So we can.
I just want to make sure I wasn't muted. Hold on, I'm having a look. No, for me, that's just a breakdown of what we have in front of us. So part of the recommendation itself is in that $102,329 be moved from the Public Works Construction Reserve to cover this overage for this particular project. So that's really just a comparison of what is the budget versus what we received in the tender and the deficit to the budget ratio that we have.
Okay, yes, follow up, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, just so I'm understanding this correctly. So we budgeted, say, for example, under gravel M, we had budgeted $18.92 per ton, but the actual cost of the lowest tender is $20.89. Is that what am I understanding that right?
Asking for what accounts for the deficit.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just a comparison of what the previous, it should say, Mark, if we just took out 222 and put 221, that's the comparison between 2022 costs versus what we paid in 2021. The total gravel budget itself was $586,000, which was increased from last year. And on the right column, then down farther, the total 2022 costing is a breakdown of the 31,500 tons at $20.89, which is the price we received in the tender. The 500 tons stockpiled at $22.50 is the price we received in the tender and the associated number. So the total approved budget was 586. The total budget or the total cost of the tender is 688.39, which produced a $102,329 deficit. So we needed to make that transfer from the construction reserve.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. That explains it well. Council, any further questions? Then I'll entertain a motion that the tender be accepted from Johnson Brothers. Please raise your hand. Doug Bartlett moved it. Councillor Bartlett, seconded by Councillor Vink. Final questions to Greg? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Greg. Jill, 8E, woodlot management. Is that yourself or Greg, are you giving that, or is it a collective approach to this? Who do I ask to take the floor?
No, it's under my name, so I certainly can go through it. I think council would be aware that I remember this item first coming up when I was just involved in public works, wasn't involved in facilities and reacting council. I had asked Steve at the time if he could do an assessment of the 3 woodlots that were owned by the municipality. So I sort of pushed that project along, and what we have in front of us tonight is assessment reports for each woodlot. These reports were prepared using good forestry practices, which basically looks at the particular woodlot and assesses it for any merchantable timber. It also looks at the woodlots for recreational use, any type of diverse wildlife habitat, as well as wildlife itself. So it gets a real comprehensive look at each woodlot to see what stages they're in, and whether they can be whether they're being used currently, and what in the future we would need to do to manage them better. So as all these reports included 10-year work summaries for these woodlots. So after the reports were commissioned, there is sort of a work plan that we need to put in place for the next 10 years to manage these. I can tell you that there's very little management that goes on in these right now. Certainly, this is something that we would like to see change moving forward in the future. These particular woodlots, all of them are very much in the same growth period, so that there really isn't any merchantable timber there right now. And if we manage them better for the next 15 to 20 years, then certainly they could produce some merchantable timber that could be used as revenue for the municipality. There certainly is recreational trails located in them. There are very diverse wildlife populations. And really what I get out of these particular assessments is that we need to do a better job of looking after these places. They would need to be signed as to who owns them and what are permitted activities versus prohibited activities. And then we actively need to get in there every year and have a look at these places and maybe do some thinning in areas to release some of the canopy, as well as have a look at these trail systems and what we can do to provide some recreational uses and activities for the residents itself. But with that comes, access to parking, all that stuff. So we haven't really looked at these too much in depth in the past, but this is something that we should do moving forward. So this is sort of the end of getting these assessments itself. We certainly are going to have to come up with a work plan, moving forward, and make sure that those particular, any issues associated with them are included in our budgets. And, these particular areas are very consistent with what was suggested and input that we received in the Facilities and Rec Master Plan to provide recreational opportunities for people within the municipality. So kind of look at these areas as a real asset moving forward, similar to our Arboreta situation. But moving forward in the future, we certainly need to be more aggressive in managing these particular pieces of property. So I do take calls from people with regards to these for walking opportunities as well as hunting opportunities. So where you do have or could have a clash of different types of uses, and it's certainly a good thing. They're beautiful pieces of property and owned by the people and should be managed by the people. So I put all three in front of council tonight because this is something that has been on the books for at least 2 or 3 years. And, certainly we'll incorporate a lot of the suggested recommendations in these reports in our operations plans moving forward. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions. There really isn't any financial implications at this particular point, but it was a good opportunity to assess these particular woodlots for whether they had merchantable timber, whether they had recreational trails, and how the residents in Southwest Middlesex could use them in the future.
Thank you, Greg. It was an interesting report to read and interesting mapping as well. Council, we're no financial implications. We are accepting the report and the information it provides. Any questions to Greg? Councillor Cal, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to move the recommendation.
Okay, a seconder for that. Yeah, Councillor Choi. Final call for questions. Seeing none, I'll
I think Martin had a question.
Oh, Martin, sorry. Yeah, Mr. Hand. Yeah, thank you, Councillor McGill. Martin, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Allen. To Greg, I was thinking about the property on Haggerty Road, close to Newbury. When I read the report, I believe it was logged a number of years ago, and there's still hardly any logs there. And you mentioned something about managing these properties. Well, there would have to be a cost to manage these properties and signage. And I've been in that bush a little bit in the front of it. It's fairly thin, the pines are small. I don't see a big future for lumber in that particular forest. And so I wonder whether that's a good use of taxpayers' money to spend a lot of money managing and signage and that sort of thing on that particular property. Because it could be, as you well know, there's, it shows on the map, there's 5 or 6 houses right side by side there. It would be a good spot to have 4 or 5 houses along there.
It's less entering into a planning aspect, future planning aspect, Martin. The report doesn't discourage decisions to be made down the future for that. And the purpose of the report is to assess the financial viability as well. Greg, any response to Martin on that?
Well, yeah, quickly, just through you. I mean, if you do read the report, certainly it does address the issue of merchantable timber associated with that site, which certainly puts out how that can be attainable, certainly by removing some of those conifer trees itself. But so that aspect is in there. It doesn't say that it can never be logged. It says that 20 years from now that if it's managed properly, you could get merchantable timber out of there. Whether the situation is pretty straightforward. These particular areas are owned by the municipality and should be managed by the municipality. So and they should be managed no different than any other piece of property that we have, especially if there are people using and recreating in these particular areas. The way they're set up right now, you could have somebody hunting on one of these pieces of property at the same time somebody's hiking, and I'm not sure that that's acceptable. So what I'm suggesting is that we take a further look at these particular properties as far as their recreational use is concerned. And as I mentioned before, we would come up with a work plan that would be presented to council. And to just say that you can throw houses on a piece of property that's a woodlot, I mean, I'm not sure that that's possible. There are many implications associated with where you put houses, including planning and zoning and everything else. So I'm not sure that would apply in this particular case. And I guess we all would be faced with the same thing. Do we keep our natural areas that we do have that are in place, or do we does council take a different direction? At those times, that would be a council decision and would be based on council having a lot of information in front of them. So the only thing I can report on now is that these areas are owned by us. and are not being managed at this particular point. And like I said, I'll bring a work plan forward to council to manage them in the future. So.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Any further questions? Then we have a mover and a seconder. We'll, the chair will call the question that the recommendation be accepted. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion's carried unanimously. Greg, thank you very much. I know you've got some background in forest management, and we look forward to having that as part of our asset. Council, just to put the agenda in perspective, we're at number 9. Notice of motion. There have none at this point. Correspondence and petitions. Jill, I don't believe there's any. And unfinished business. Councillor Cowell, you asked that the letter from Bracebridge regarding hospital funding, 5F, be brought to the table. Would you like to speak to that, please?
As we heard, there's a lot of demands on funds for hospitals. And one of the things that's slowly been happening is more of a burden placed on the municipalities to fund hospitals. I am sure we can all appreciate that we do enjoy the hospital here in Newbury and we don't mind supporting it. However, I can't imagine that our budget can face any more burden. So with that in mind, I'd like to move the correspondence in an effort to support what Bracebridge is asking for. And that's simply just to have the province take a look at this cost sharing local share calculation, and that they take responsibility because at a provincial level, they collect taxes for healthcare.
Thank you, Councillor Cowell. A seconder for the correspondence of Bracebridge to be supported. Councillor Scholdice seconded that. Any questions? All in favor, please raise your hand. It's carried. Jill, there was no unfinished business, I believe. I skipped over that. Continuing on with new business, addendum items or other business, there are none. County Council conference updates. Nothing at this time. Council, any announcements any councillor wish to make? Yes, Councillor Scholdice, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just like to remind everybody that there is a Glencoe Lions drive-through beef dinner at the Legion to be held on March the 17th. Tickets are still available at Ace Hardware and any Lions member.
Great, that's good news, Mike. March 17th, eh? Got it. All righty, any further announcements? Just to remind people, these dinners are becoming one of the few avenues of fundraising for many municipalities, and Melbourne Agricultural Society are hosting one this Saturday. I'm not sure the status of tickets. I picked up mine at Hathaway Feeds in Melbourne, and perhaps a call there will advise you if they're still not too late to get them. Anything else? I think it should be mentioned that we spring ahead on Sunday, so don't forget to adjust your clocks. And I see no other hands up. I think we'll move on. Closed session. There is none. Jill, I see you have 3 bylaws before you, and there were a recommendation that be given first, second, and third reading. Is there a support from council by way of a motion on that, please? Councillor Bartlett moved it. It is seconded by whom? Deputy Mayor Wilkins. And discussion to Jill on any of these? Okay, that looks good. Okay, I see no hands up, no discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Carried. Future meetings, you'll be advised later. Council, number 18 on the agenda is adjournment. and it is 8:14. And I move the chair will adjourn the meeting at 8:14. And thank you very much for your speed tonight. And the quality was there, and we certainly had the speed as well. So thank you very much. Good night, Greg. Good night, Jill. Good night,
Night.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.